Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Am I audible? All right, okay, great. So let's begin today's session. We are going to start with this week's some of the very important topics with some underlying important concepts. That is what we always do in this class. So the first topic that we are going to begin is going to help us understand the concept of substantive equality. All right. So we'll understand the concept of substantive equality, contrast the concept of substantive equality with formal equality, and then we'll go for analyzing the reason for this particular concept was in news. So you know that this particular week, all right, maybe around like 5-10 days back, there was a news article where the Supreme Court has given a verdict on OBC quota in the NEET exam. All right. So Supreme Court has given a verdict on the OBC quota in NEET exam, and while giving the verdict, the Supreme Court has touched upon the concept of substantive equality. So now it is imperative for us to understand what is substantive equality, how we contrast substantive equality to formal equality, and why did Supreme Court said that reservation in the other backward classes, reservation in scheduled caste or reservation for scheduled tribe communities, it is a reflection of substantive equality. Why did Supreme Court say so? These are the areas that we are going to touch upon. Today in this class, we may be having some of the students who are very new to the preparation. So from this class today, you are going to develop an understanding that when you are reading a newspaper article, to what level you have to go deep to understand that concept. All right. So there was, so you know that these days there's a lot of news articles that have come upon the Supreme Court's verdict upon the OBC reservation in the NEET exam, both undergraduate, graduate and postgraduate exam of the NEET exam. So Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional validity. You must have read those articles. Those of you who have not read those articles, you will understand it. But when we are going to cover this topic today, you should try to replicate the same strategy when you are reading any newspaper article. It may include reading the article and a little bit about reading the topic from Google or some other internet source. So the first topic we are beginning right now, all right, the first topic that we are beginning today, it is nothing but it is the Supreme Court verdict on OBC quota in NEET exam. All right, so the topic is inspired from Supreme Court verdict on OBC reservation in NEET exam. Now, your UPSC exam paper will never have the question like what did Supreme Court say in its verdict related to the NEET exam. No, they do not want to know what Supreme Court has said. They need to know the basis of this judgment or the principles that were covered in that judgment. So we are doing this topic to understand the concept of substantive equality. To understand what we call as substantive equality. All right. So we are going to understand this concept of substantive equality. Now, in this particular judgment, what did Supreme Court said? That Supreme Court has no objection about the constitutional invalidity of the OBC reservation. Supreme Court said that OBC reservation to the NEET examination, both at the undergraduate and postgraduate level, is equally constitutional. So in this particular verdict, Supreme Court, it has upheld what is known as the constitutional validity upheld the constitutional validity of OBC reservation in both NEET undergraduate, that is the NEET exam right after class 12, and NEET postgraduate that you take up after your graduation in medical sciences. So Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional validity. Supreme Court said that it is not constitutionally wrong to provide reservation to the OBC communities in the NEET exam. Now let us observe. All right, now let's discuss the observations as given by the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court's observation while giving this particular verdict. Now Supreme Court's observations are important because in the observations, Supreme Court go for providing the basis of its judgments. And these bases are more important than what did the Supreme Court say. ये ठीक है, ये समझना जरूरी है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या कहा, बट ये समझना ज्यादा जरूरी है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अगर ऐसा कहा तो क्यों कहा. So let us now look into what are the Supreme Court's observation. The first observation of the Supreme Court is that you know that there is a power that is there in the government, and that is known as the power of reservation that the government provides. It is the central government that makes up the central list of OBCs. It is a precedent that identifies a community to be Dalit or scheduled caste, and it is the precedent that identifies a community to be tribal or scheduled tribe. So now the union government has been provided the power to provide reservation, which we refer to as the power of reservation with government. All right. This power of reservation is not an exception to Article 15(1). बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. ये समझना कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपनी ऑब्जर्वेशन में बोला है कि गवर्नमेंट की रिजर्वेशन देने की जो पावर है, इट इज नॉट एन एक्सेप्शनल पावर. इट्स नॉट एन एक्सेप्शन, एक्सेप्शनल पावर नहीं है, इट्स नॉट एन एक्सेप्शन. मतलब जो आर्टिकल 15(1) है, what does article 15(1) say? Article 51 says that the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them. All right, so what it is saying that the state shall not discriminate. The state shall not discriminate between anybody on the basis of religion, on the basis of race, on the basis of caste, on the basis of sex, on the basis of place of birth, or any of them, or any of them. यानी स्टेट के लिए आप सब बराबर हो. स्टेट के लिए आप सब बराबर हो, चाहे आप किसी भी धर्म से बिलोंग करते हो, आप किसी भी रेस से बिलोंग करते हो, आपकी कोई भी जाति हो, आपका कोई भी लिंग हो, आपका कहीं पे भी बर्थ हुआ हो, you shall not be discriminated by the state or the government. अभी समझ एक्सेप्शन वाला पॉइंट क्लियर होगा कैसे? अभी कंप्लीट हुआ कहाँ है? Where did I complete the topic right now? I have come to the exception. अभी मैं सिर्फ एक प्रोविजन बता रहा हूँ. आर्टिकल 15(1) का एक प्रोविजन है सिंपल सा कि स्टेट किसी के साथ भी डिस्क्रिमिनेट नहीं करेगा रिलीजन, रेस, कास्ट, सेक्स और प्लेस ऑफ बर्थ के हिसाब से. फिर वहीं पे आर्टिकल 15(3) और आर्टिकल 15(4) दे रखे हैं. ऑलराइट, वहीं पे आर्टिकल 15(3) और आर्टिकल 15(4) दे रखे हैं. आर्टिकल 15(3) says that nothing in the constitution prevent the government or the state to make laws for the betterment of the children and women. All right, article 15 clause 3, it empowers the government, it empowers the state. So we can say that the state or the government is empowered to make provisions for welfare of women and children, right? और जो आपका 15.4 है उसमें लिखा हुआ है that the government or the state is empowered to make provisions for betterment of socially and educationally backward, socially and educationally backward classes, जिनको हम क्या बोलते हैं, which we refer to as OBCs plus SCs plus STs. अब देखो, अब आएगा एक्सेप्शन वाला पॉइंट. सो जो लोग ओबीसी रिजर्वेशन को नीट में अपोज कर रहे थे, द पीपल हु वर ट्राइंग टू अपोज द ओबीसी रिजर्वेशन इन द नीट एग्जामिनेशन, दे वर सेइंग दैट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन प्रोवाइडेड दैट द स्टेट विल नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेट अगेंस्ट एनीवन. However, they also were of the opinion that the provision in the constitution that empowers the state under Article 15.3 to make efforts for betterment of women and children, and the efforts or the provisions mentioned under Article 15.4 that empower the state to make provisions for upliftment of OBCs, Dalits and tribals, they are actually exception to Article 15.1. यानी कि सरकार आर्टिकल 15.3 और आर्टिकल 15.4 को बहुत रेयरली यूज करेगी, ओनली इन एक्सेप्शनल सर्कमस्टेंसेस. समझ रहे हैं आप इस चीज को? आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? जो लोग ओबीसी में ओबीसी रिजर्वेशन को नीट में अपोज कर रहे थे, वो सारे लोग ये कह रहे थे कि पावर टू मेक रिजर्वेशन अंडर आर्टिकल 15.3 and 4, that is an exceptional power to be exercised only in exceptional circumstances. यानी सरकार का जब मन आ रहा है, सरकार मुंह उठा के रिजर्वेशन नहीं बनाएगी. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इस चीज को इनवैलिडेट कर दिया. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है that the power of the government to make reservation under Article 15.3 for women and children and 15.4 for the OBCs, Dalits and tribals, that's not an exceptional power. That's not something that the Sarkar will only use in exceptional circumstances. सरकार की अगर सरकार को लगता है कि कोई भी ग्रुप डिसएडवांटेज्ड है और सरकार उसको रिजर्वेशन देना चाहता है, तो सरकार दे. इज इट क्लियर एवरीवन? इज दिस इंटरप्रिटेशन क्लियर? हरलिन, तुम्हारा सवाल था, इज इट क्लियर नाउ? Okay. Now, what did the Supreme Court say further? Observing this, Supreme Court said that the powers to the government under Article 15.3, 15.4, they are not to be exercised, or they are not exception to Article 15.1, because the reservation that the government extends in pursuant of Article 15.3 and 15.4, it is important for upholding the principle of substantive equality. All right? It is important for upholding the concept of, or instead of concept, we can say is crucial or important for upholding the spirit of substantive equality. All right, it is important for upholding, अरे all, कीर्ति, all गवर्नमेंट की रिजर्वेशन बनाने की पावर एक्सेप्शनल नहीं है. ऑलराइट, नहीं कह सकते काजल ये चीज. क्यों नहीं कह सकते? वो इस टॉपिक के एंड में पता चलेगा कि रिजर्वेशन जरूरी भी है. क्यों जरूरी है? वी आर कमिंग टू इट. देखिए, So reservation according to Supreme Court is important for upholding the spirit of substantive equality. Now let us understand what is substantive equality. Yes, बहुत potential question है मेंस में कि what do you understand by the term substantive equality? Substantive equality का मतलब है the equality that focuses upon equitable, the principles that focus upon equitable and equitable outcomes and equality of opportunity. When anything that results into, when any effort of the government results into equitable outcome and equality of opportunity, that, my dear friends, is known as those policies that uphold the spirit of substantive equality. मतलब समझिए इस तरीके से कि इधर आकाश शेरावत है, दैट्स मी, और इधर आकाश अंबानी है. ऑलराइट, नाउ द थिंग इज, according to the general principle of equality, the government should go for helping both Akash Sherawat and Akash Ambani equally. This is known as formal equality. In formal equality, you treat everyone equal irrespective of the mutual differences between the people. All right. In case of formal equality, you consider everyone equal irrespective of their mutual differences. Now, in that situation, it is not necessary that when you provide formal equality treatment to the people, the outcome will be equitable. Are you getting my point? The outcome may not be equitable. Why? Because there are already mutual differences that exist. Now, in order to ensure substantive equality, out of Akash Sherawat and Akash Ambani, who is the weaker person, uski sarkar ko madad zyada karni chahiye. All right. Now, in case of substantive equality, to ensure equitable outcomes, you must treat the person who is less empowered with a better resources than the person who is already highly empowered. All right. Then only equitable outcomes can be ensured and equality of opportunity can be ensured. I hope it is clear to everyone. All right. That means that all government policies and programs, that result into elimination of systematic discrimination, they are referred to as the instruments of substantive equality. They are the instruments of substantive equality. Now, what do you understand by the term systematic discrimination? सिस्टमेटिक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का मतलब है कि समाज ने इस तरीके से कुछ लोगों का बहिष्कार किया. सिस्टमेटिक डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का मतलब है the society systematically discriminated against a group of people who turned out to be disadvantageous, such that if you treat them equal to everybody else, providing equal benefit to everyone, you will never be able to provide them the equitable outcome. And when there will be no equitable outcome, those people who have been systematically discriminated, they will be having absence of equality of opportunity. And therefore, if the government is blind eye to the differences among the people, it will never result into equity or equality of opportunity. And there is no purpose of going with the chants of equality if you cannot eliminate the systematic discrimination. अब देखिए, now सुप्रीम कोर्ट आगे भी बताएगी, मैं आपको यहाँ पे एक बार टच कर रहा हूँ ये चीज बताने के लिए. अब आप बोलोगे कि सर एक चीज बताइए कि हम क्यों जॉब्स में रिजर्वेशन दे रहे हैं? लेट अस प्रोवाइड रिजर्वेशन इन द प्राइमरी लेवल, let us provide reservation in the early school, let us provide reservation them in the middle school, or maybe towards the graduate, towards the undergraduate scenario. All right, let's provide them reservation at this particular point of time in the life of the people. Now the thing is, Supreme Court कहती है कि सिर्फ एजुकेशन और सिर्फ एक जॉब सदियों के डिस्क्रिमिनेशन को एलिमिनेट नहीं करेगा. आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? Yes, Priyanka. So the age old discrimination and age old discrimination and age old disability that has been brought upon by the social and educational backwardness, it cannot be eliminated by just ensuring education to one member of the family or job to one member of the family. Why? Because the people who are upper caste, they are the people who have cultural capital along with them. अब ये कल्चरल कैपिटल क्या है, इसको हम आगे देखेंगे. ठीक है, सो ये पॉइंट यहां तक समझ लीजिए कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहती है we cannot go for, Supreme Court says that we cannot go for removal of reservation to the other backward classes because reservation number 1 is not an exception to Article 15(1) that makes the state not to discriminate among the people. Rather, it is a general principle available with the state कि अगर कोई भी community socially educationally backward है, कोई भी community दलित है, कोई भी community आदिवासी है, कोई भी women या कोई भी children का group है, उनको आप reservation extend कर सकते हो. It's not an exception to Article 15(1). Why? Because according to Supreme Court, reservation is a manifestation of what is known as substantive equality, that is an equality that ensures equitable outcomes and equality of opportunity, right? And therefore reservation is constitutionally valid. Reservation is constitutionally valid. I hope it is clear to you now. What were the petitioners' justification for ruling 1534 as exception? Because they said that it undermines meritocracy. All right, they said that the Supreme Court in its previous judgment said that meritocracy has to be upheld, and meritocracy will be upheld by practicing reservation only if reservation is practiced in a very sporadic and exceptional manner. Are you getting my point, Rahul? So that was the purpose that the petitioners called Article 1534 as exceptional powers and not routine powers with the government. Can we say result of substantive equality is reservation? नहीं, नहीं, उल्टा बोलिए. Substantive equality is the result of reservation. Reservation is not the result of substantive equality. Substantive equality is the anticipated outcome of reservation, number 1. Or you can say substantive equality is the cause of reservation. It's not a result of reservation. Okay, चलें आगे. चलिए, let's now go ahead. Now Supreme Court has already, so another reason for questioning this particular judgment, all right, another reason for questioning this argument, yes Shrishti, because in the name of merit you cannot let social atrocities sustain in the society. Remember that. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बहुत खुल के बोला है कि हम मेरिट को अंडरमाइन नहीं होने देंगे, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम मेरिट का जोगा पहन के, मेरिट का मुखौटा पहन के, मेरिट का मास्क लगा के आप सस्टेनिंग सोशल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं कर सकते. सो सोशल upliftment is more important than merit, but somewhere the Supreme Court also says you have to maintain this gap to be very minimal. You cannot let the meritocracy compromise to a great extent, right? Okay. All right, okay, let's now see the second reason for Supreme Court to uphold the OBC reservation for NEET examination is that in the year 2007, all right, in the year 2007, or I do not remember the year basically, there was a case that is Ashok Thakur versus Union of India. So Supreme Court gave the second argument that in Ashok Thakur versus the Union of India case, all right, in Ashok Thakur versus the Union of India case, the Supreme Court Constitutional Bench, the Supreme Court Constitutional Bench has already upheld the reservation in educational institutions, provided under the Central Educational Institutions Reservation in Admission Act 2006. Yes, provided under the Central Educational Institutions in bracket Reservation in Admission Act 2006. इस एक्ट को चैलेंज किया था अशोक ठाकुर वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस के अंदर. ऑलराइट, इन अशोक ठाकुर वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया केस, this act of the parliament, that is the Central Educational Institution Reservation of Admission or Reservation in Admission Act 2006, it was challenged. ये याद है, ये उस टाइम की बात है जब अर्जुन सिंह यूज्ड टू बी द एचआरडी मिनिस्टर और लोगों ने कई बच्चों ने अपने आप के ऊपर केरोसिन डाल के आग लगा ली थी because they belong to the general category and their admission was denied and the people who were lower in marks were provided admission in the name of reservation. ठीक है, अब हम इसमें सही गलत पे नहीं जाएंगे, हमें तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट का एनालिसिस करना है. So since it has already been extended by the union government that in 2006 27% seats in the central educational institutions were reserved for OBCs, 15% seats were reserved for the Dalits or the SCs, and 7.5% seats were reserved for the scheduled tribes. So this thing still persists, and because it was already declared constitutional by a constitutional bench, so there is no point in discussion on this particular topic. Are these two arguments clear to everyone which were presented by the Supreme Court in questioning the petition right now for OBC reservation in the NEET exam? Right? Now let's start look into a little debate about arguments in favor of reservation and arguments against reservation. See, the thing is this, in this debate that we are going to start right now, all right, this debate that we are going to start right now, arguments in favor of reservation and arguments against, arguments in favor are more important than arguments against, because your sentimental attachment to the reservation might not let you develop the merit behind reservation, which you will not be able to reflect in your answers and your marks will suffer. So try to understand arguments in favor of reservation. So let's begin with arguments in favor of reservation. All right, so that's what we are going to look into. First and the foremost argument that you can give is that reservation ensures equality of opportunity. Reservation ensures equality of opportunity. इसको समझिएगा. All right, सिर्फ इतना लिखने से काम नहीं चलेगा. We have to understand the spirit behind it. If you say, all right, if you say that, sir, we already can go for open competitive exam एंड व्हेन देयर इज ओपन कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम वी आर नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेटिंग अगेंस्ट एनीबडी, तो कोई भी अपनी क्वालिटी और अपनी प्रतिभा के दम पे select हो जाए, तो it's an equality of opportunity. So Supreme Court here says, all right, Supreme Court here says that merely open examination, all right, merely conducting open examinations will not end what? It will not end the widespread ingrained inequalities, cannot end widespread ingrained inequalities, widespread ingrained inequalities. If you want to end these widespread ingrained inequalities, then my dear friends, for you have to go with substantive equality. You have to go with substantive equality, and substantive equality can only be ensured through reservation. ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट की ऑब्जर्वेशन है भाई, मैं अपनी कुछ नहीं बोल रहा, कहीं कल पता बोले पकड़ लो मेरे को कि क्या बोल रहे थे सर आप, ये रिजर्वेशन को सपोर्ट कर रहे हो। मैं तो वो चीजें बोल रहा हूँ कि जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अपनी जजमेंट में, डिफरेंट जजमेंट्स में एंश्योर करी है कि जो रिजर्वेशन है it ensures quality of opportunity, because merely conducting open examination will not ensure equality of opportunity, because merely conducting open examination will never end the widespread ingrained inequality that exists in Indian society. If you want to end the widespread ingrained inequalities, then मेरे मित्रों आपको सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी एंश्योर करनी पड़ेगी, और सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी किससे आती है? रिजर्वेशन से। इसलिए रिजर्वेशन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली जस्टिफाइड है। दूसरा जो रीजन है वो ये है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ऑब्जर्व किया है दैट इफ यू लुक एट द प्रिविलेजेस ऑफ द फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस, privileges of forward classes, जो अगड़ा वर्ग है, ऑलराइट, जो अगड़ा वर्ग है, पिछड़ा होता है बैकवर्ड, अगड़ा होता है फॉरवर्ड, जो फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस हैं उनके प्रिविलेजेस आर नॉट लिमिटेड टू, they are not just limited to what? They are not just limited to access to quality school, access to quality schooling. It is not just limited to access to coaching. It is not just limited to access to books. It is much wider. It is much wider. So the privileges of the forward caste, it is not just that they have access to quality schooling, quality coaching and quality books. The privileges of the forward caste is much wider, and this Supreme Court has tried to explain through the concept of that these forward classes, they have social networks and cultural capital in their families that they inherit, and therefore even if you provide quality classes, quality education, quality coaching and books to the backward classes, it will not be enough. So it is much wider because of social networks. Social networks and what? Social networks, and it is much wider because of social networks and cultural capital. Cultural capital. जो फॉरवर्ड ग्रुप्स हैं, जो फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस हैं, उनके सोशल नेटवर्क्स बहुत स्ट्रांग है। वो इतने स्ट्रांग हैं कि अगर आप बैकवर्ड क्लासेस को क्वालिटी स्कूलिंग भी दे दोगे, अगर आप बैकवर्ड क्लासेस को अच्छी कोचिंग भी दे दोगे, अगर आप बैकवर्ड क्लासेस को अच्छी किताबें भी दे दोगे, तो भी फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस अपने सोशल नेटवर्क्स के दम पे उनसे बेटर परफॉर्म करती रहेंगी। उसके साथ साथ जो फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस हैं उनके पास एक कल्चरल कैपिटल है which they are inheriting from their family. कल्चरल कैपिटल का मतलब क्या है? सोशियोलॉजी में कल्चरल कैपिटल को कहते हैं the social assets of a person in the form of the lifestyle, in the form of the dressing, in the form of the place they occupy, in the form of their house, in the form of their assets. ये सारी चीजें कल्चरल कैपिटल कहलाती हैं। आप किस जाति से हो, आपका क्या खान पान है, आपका क्या पहनने का तरीका है, आपका रहन सहन कैसा है, आपके एसेट्स कितने हैं, ये सारी चीजें, ये जो सोशल स्टैटिस्टिक्स ऑफ अ पर्सन, दे आर रेफर्ड टू एज कल्चरल कैपिटल। और सिर्फ अगर हम इस बेसिस पे देखेंगे तो इन बेसिस पे बैकवर्ड क्लासेस के साथ इनजस्टिस कंटिन्यू होती रहेगी। इसलिए सोशल नेटवर्क और कल्चरल कैपिटल होने के वजह से फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस विल ऑलवेज गो फॉर सोशल मोबिलिटी, एंड द बैकवर्ड क्लासेस, इवन यू प्रोवाइड देम दीज थिंग्स, बिकॉज ऑफ एब्सेंस ऑफ दीज आइटम्स, they will never be able to develop themselves, or only few of them will be able to develop themselves. Is this clear, everyone? Is it clear? So this is the second argument in favor of reservation. And the next argument that Supreme Court says, that if you look at the OBCs, if you look at Dalits, and if you look at the tribals, in these communities, people are first generational learners, and they are coming from communities with traditional occupations. All right, so peoples are first generation learners. अपने परिवार में वो पहली बार या पहले इंसान है जो लड़ रहे हैं। ऑलराइट, जो लड़ रहे हैं, पीपल आर फर्स्ट जनरेशन लर्नर्स। ऑलराइट, एंड दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम कम्युनिटीज, दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम कम्युनिटीज with traditional occupations. इसलिए आपको एक प्रोलॉन्ग टाइम तक ओबीसीज, दलित्स और ट्राइबल्स को रिजर्वेशन देना पड़ेगा। I hope it is clear to everyone. The three arguments in support of the reservation system. Social network का मतलब क्या है शबनम? Social network basically means that the forward classes, because they have been forward all through the time, in every administration, in every economy, in every polity, the forward classes have people present there which help each other on the name of the forward class. But the backward classes, because they do not have the representatives occupying different posts and positions, they are always suffering. They are always suffering. ठीक है, ये चीज है। केतन कहता है, सर, if the Article 14 provides right to equality, then why there are reservation for communities to make them feel equal? भैया यही तो बता रहा हूं मैं आपको कि सिर्फ एक इक्वलिटी इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट। इक्वलिटी दो तरह की होती है, सब्सटेंटिव और फॉर्मल। फॉर्मल का मतलब है कि सब बराबर। सब्सटेंटिव होता है कि भैया वो बराबर हैं जो वैसे बराबर हैं, और जो अनइक्वल हैं उनको आप अनइक्वली ट्रीट करो। समझ रहे हैं मेरी बात? तो आर्टिकल 15 जो है, आर्टिकल 14 टॉक्स अबाउट जस्ट इक्वलिटी, लेकिन किस तरह की इक्वलिटी है वो आर्टिकल 15 में बता रखा है कि वो सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी होगी। राइट? ओके केतन, आर्टिकल 14 talks about just equality, that there should everyone is equal. Now if the people, चलिए आर्टिकल 14 वाली बात कर लेते हैं। आर्टिकल 14 कहता है राइट टू इक्वलिटी, दैट एवरीवन इज इक्वल बिफोर द आइज ऑफ लॉ। ठीक है, आप में हम सब इक्वल है। हम सब तब इक्वल हैं जब हमारे बीच में म्यूचुअल डिफरेंसेस नहीं है, लेकिन हमारे बीच में म्यूचुअल डिफरेंसेस तो हैं, तो लॉ हमें बराबर कैसे ट्रीट कर सकता है? वो आर्टिकल 15 में बता रखा है कि जो डिसएडवांटेज रहा है सदियों से, उसको आपको ज्यादा हेल्प करने पड़ेगा इन द नेम ऑफ इक्विटी। ऑलराइट केतन? अरे देखिए, फिर वही बात आती है कि है ना, जब आप ये सवाल पूछते हो ना, ये सवाल नहीं आने चाहिए। जैसे अभी एक क्वेश्चन बोला मैंने कहा कि मोस्ट ऑफ देम और पीपल्स आर द फर्स्ट जनरेशन लर्नर्स, एंड नाउ देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन, व्हाट इफ दे आर द सेकंड जनरेशन लर्नर्स? अरे भैया, कितने सेकंड जनरेशन लर्नर्स होंगे 15% होंगे, 20% होंगे, तो 20% के चक्कर में बाकी 80% का नुकसान कर दोगे क्या? समझ रहे मेरी बात? सुप्रीम कोर्ट यही कह रही है कि भैया कि ऐसा है कि ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम जब उनका स्टेटस पूरा अपलिफ्ट हो जाता है, 3-4 जनरेशन निकल जाती है, उसके बाद आप सोच सकते हो रिजर्वेशन को रैशनलाइज करने का। देखिए मेरे इस क्लास का पर्पस है कि मैं आपको वो नजरिया दिखाऊं जो आपको मेंटली मैच्योर करेगा आंसर्स क्रिएट करने में, है ना? सो दैट इज समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। ओके, 3 point reservation is given. नहीं, देखिए इस पॉइंट को ऐसा मत सोचिए कि सरकार कह रही है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रही है कि एक बार रिजर्वेशन देखिए दोबारा नहीं देना। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कह रही है कि देखिए अगर आप फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस और बैकवर्ड क्लासेस में कंपेयर करें तो फॉरवर्ड क्लासेस के अंदर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ ईयर्स से जनरेशन टू जनरेशन, कई जनरेशन से लर्निंग एजुकेशन ये बहुत प्रिवेलेंट है। लेकिन जो ट्रेडिशनल ऑक्यूपेशन करने वाली बैकवर्ड क्लासेस थी उसमें हाल फिलहाल में ही आजादी के बाद 1-2-3 जनरेशन हुई है कि उन्होंने लर्निंग स्टार्ट करी है, नहीं तो वो बैकवर्ड ही रहती रही हैं। तो आप कैसे एक ऐसी कम्युनिटी को बराबर मान सकते हैं एक ऐसी कम्युनिटी के साथ जिसने कुछ ही जनरेशन में लर्निंग स्टार्ट करी है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द अदर कम्युनिटी जो हजारों सालों से पढ़ती आ रही है। ऑलराइट, दिस इज द स्पिरिट ऑफ दिस थर्ड पॉइंट। चलिए अब आपके फेवरेट पॉइंट्स पे आ जाते हैं, आर्ग्यूमेंट्स अगेंस्ट रिजर्वेशन। ठीक है, जो आर्ग्यूमेंट्स अगेंस्ट रिजर्वेशन, अब देखो यहां पे एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज देखो। सपोज करो कि यूपीएससी आपसे सवाल पूछ ले कि व्हाई इज रिजर्वेशन इंपॉर्टेंट। अब आप बताओगे रिजर्वेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट जी क्योंकि लोगों के ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेट होते हैं तो उनको एम्पावर कर दोगे, बहुत बढ़िया। रिजर्वेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट जी, इक्वलिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल जाएगी, बहुत बढ़िया। रिजर्वेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट जी क्योंकि जो वीक है वो पावरफुल से दबा हुआ है, उसको अगर आप एम्पावर कर दोगे तो वो इनजस्टिस को ओवरकम कर लेगा। ये आपके आंसर्स हैं जो आपको 10 में से 3 या 3.5 नंबर लेके आएगा। लेकिन वहीं पे अगर आप इस तरीके की चीजें बताओगे ना कि भैया रिजर्वेशन इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है कि सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी के बिना वाइड स्प्रेड इनग्रेन्ड इनइक्वलिटी खत्म नहीं होती, तो चाहे कितना ही जस्टिस जस्टिस चिल्ला लो, जब तक सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी नहीं लेकर आए तो कुछ काम नहीं करेगा। एंड देयरफॉर रिजर्वेशन व्हिच इज एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट ऑफ सब्सटेंटिव इक्वलिटी इज इंपॉर्टेंट। समझ रहे हो एक स्टेटमेंट कैसे बोल रहे हो और उसी स्टेटमेंट का तथ्य देके आप आंसर लिख रहे हो, दिस इज गोइंग टू फेच यू मार्क्स। यही अंतर होता है जी, मैं भी तो ये लिख के आया था, आपने उसको 7.5 नंबर दिए, मुझे 3 नंबर दिए, तो इसलिए दिए ना क्योंकि उसने 7.5 वाली चीज लिखी थी। ऑलराइट, चलिए नाउ लेट्स डिस्कस अबाउट आर्ग्यूमेंट्स अगेंस्ट रिजर्वेशन। सो पहला आर्ग्यूमेंट जी आपका सबसे फेमस चीज कि इट इज द एनिमी और इट इज द बिगेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ मेरिटोक्रेसी। इट इज द बिगेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ मेरिटोक्रेसी, rule of the intelligent people. All right, second, it is itself a form of discrimination. It is itself a form of discrimination. All right, तीसरा point. All right, there is no social or political audit to ascertain that reservation is an instrument of substantive equality and it is resulting into something effective. इस पॉइंट को समझाता हूं, एक सेकंड रुको। थर्ड पॉइंट मैं एक्सप्लेन करूंगा आपको एक बार लास्ट और देख लो। आर्ग्यूमेंट्स अगेंस्ट रिजर्वेशन, एलाइट सर्कुलेशन। एलीट सर्कुलेशन, देखो ये 4 पॉइंट्स आते हैं जनरली वो पॉइंट्स एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए कि रिजर्वेशन खराब चीज है। फर्स्ट पॉइंट इज रिजर्वेशन इज द बिगेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ मेरिटोक्रेसी, कि रिजर्वेशन के नाम पे मेरिट सफर करती है। एक इंसान जिसके मेंस में 1000 में से 780 नंबर है, वो जनरल कैटेगरी का कैंडिडेट बाहर हो जाता है, और वहीं पे एक दलित इंसान या एक ट्राइबल इंसान जिसके 1000 में से 720 नंबर होते हैं, 60 नंबर का अंतर बहुत होता है, वो 720 वाला बंदा आईएएस बन रहा है। 780 वाला आपने बाहर कर दिया, 720 वाला आईएएस बन रहा है। आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? तो इसलिए लोगों ने बोला कि देखिए रिजर्वेशन इज द बिगेस्ट एनिमी ऑफ मेरिटोक्रेसी। अब यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिफेंस समझिए। सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहता है कि देखो जी, मेरिटोक्रेसी इंपॉर्टेंट है, मेरिटोक्रेसी इंपॉर्टेंट है, लेकिन मेरिटोक्रेसी के नाम पे आप सोशल इनजस्टिस को कंटिन्यू नहीं कर सकते। नंबर एक, यानी सोशल जस्टिस इज अबाव मेरिट टू सम एक्सटेंट। लेकिन फिर भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक चीज बोला कि रिजर्वेशन किसी भी हाल में 50% से ज्यादा मत करो, नहीं तो फिर मेरिट बहुत नीचे चली जाएगी और सोशल जस्टिस के नाम पे इनइक्वलिटी बहुत ऊपर चली जाएगी। इसलिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बैलेंस करने की कोशिश की है कि 50% से ज्यादा रिजर्वेशन नहीं जाना चाहेगा तो मेरिट भी सफर नहीं करेगी। और दूसरा, आप कौन सा दलित को फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व बेसिस पे या ट्राइबल्स को फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व बेसिस पे एडमिशन दे रहे हो? वहां पे भी तो आपने कंपटीशन करना है, उसमें भी तो जो सबसे ज्यादा प्रतिभावान इंसान है आप उसको रिक्रूट कर रहे हो, तो कहां मेरिट सफर कर रही है? हाँ, मेरिट इज नॉट एट पार विद एन ओपन कॉम्पिटिशन, बट एट द सेम टाइम कहीं ना कहीं पे वो मेरिट इतनी भी नीचे नहीं जा रही है कि देश को नुकसान हो जाए। Is this point clear, everyone? That reservation has been called as the biggest enemy of meritocracy and the defense of the Supreme Court. अब दूसरा सुनिए। दूसरा है reservation is a kind of discrimination. Supreme Court बोला बिल्कुल जी, it's a kind of discrimination. But what is this discrimination? So Supreme Court added one word against discrimination और Supreme Court ने यहाँ पे positive शब्द लगा दिया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि ये मत बोलिए कि रिजर्वेशन इज अ फॉर्म ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, ये बोलिए कि रिजर्वेशन इज अ फॉर्म ऑफ पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन। अब जैसे ही पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हुआ, ये पॉइंट यहां से उठ के वहां चला गया फेवरेबल आर्ग्यूमेंट्स में। क्यों? पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन क्या चीज होती है? पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन वो एफर्ट होता है सरकार का या किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन का जिससे किसी भी प्रकार की डिस्क्रिमिनेशन को खत्म किया जा सके। सो पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन acts against a general discrimination to bring parity among otherwise the socially disadvantaged groups, है ना? ठीक है, तो सपोज करिए कि समाज में दलित यहां पे है और अपर कास्ट यहां पे है, तो जब आप दलित को ज्यादा बेनिफिट दोगे और अपर कास्ट को कम दोगे तो कल वो दोनों बराबर आ जाएंगे। ये होता है पॉजिटिव डिस्क्रिमिनेशन। सो योर सेकेंड आर्ग्यूमेंट इज ऑल्सो काउंटर्ड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट। अब तीसरा आर्ग्यूमेंट है सुप्रीम कोर्ट का, सॉरी आपका, रिजर्वेशन के खिलाफ, कि जी आप रिजर्वेशन देते जा रहे हो लेकिन आज तक कोई ऑडिट ही नहीं हुआ है, कि जी देर इज नो सोशल ऑडिट और देर इज नो पॉलिटिकल ऑडिट टू कंफर्म कि हाँ जी रिजर्वेशन से सब्सटेंटिव इक्विलिटी एंश्योर हुई है और दूसरा रिजर्वेशन ने इफेक्टिव आउटकम्स दिए हैं। ये तो आपने कभी चेक ही नहीं किया, आप तो बस एक बार आपने दे दिया है रिजर्वेशन, उसको कंटिन्यू करते जा रहे हो वोट बैंक के नाम पे। नई कम्युनिटीज आपके ऊपर प्रेशर डालती है, आप उनको रिजर्वेशन देते हो पॉलिटिकल नाम पे। सो आपने एक बहुत वैलिड पॉइंट दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट को कि जी आप रिजर्वेशन क्यों एक्सटेंड कर रहे हो जबकि आज तक कोई पॉलिटिकल ऑडिट। ऑलराइट, ओके ओके ओके, लियो राकेश, ओके थोड़ा आज हिंदी ज्यादा हो गई, ठीक मानता हूं मैं। ऑलराइट, सो ओके, सो सुप्रीम कोर्ट has given, so you have given a very valid point to Supreme Court that Supreme Court till this date, till today's date, there is no audit, both political audit or social audit, to prove it that yes, reservation has resulted into substantive equality. Why are you continuing it? Now this is a valid point to which Supreme Court has said that yes, time is now ripe to see if reservation has given out the desired products. If it has not given out the desired products, we need to change the reservation policy. Number one, we need to change the reservation policy, but we cannot abolish it. So So reservation will continue, but yes, its shape, its method of provisioning has to change. So this is a valid point, which I will say it is still existing. And lastly, all right, and lastly, it is that it is seen that the people who are benefited from reservation in the OBCs, in the Dalits, and in the tribal community are those people jinki generation, the generation which has taken the benefit, only their family is replicating the benefit. The true beneficiaries in the form of particularly vulnerable tribal groups, the true beneficiaries in the form of untouchables, they are not benefited through this reservation policy. So once who takes the benefit of reservation, that benefit of reservation keep replicating itself in his own family, and that is known as elite circulation or elite circulation. Are these 4 points clear to everyone? So point number 3 and point number 4 are valid, and Supreme Court has observed it, and Supreme Court has said that yes, we should look into what possible changes in the reservation policy can be introduced. ठीक है, agreed. But reservation altogether cannot be abolished, because reservation is a tool of ensuring substantive rationality. With this, we have substantive equality. Now, क्योंकि मेरे just because I use this word substantive rationality, so let me explain you what is substantive rationality. All right, so next thing that I'm going to explain to you, substantive rationality, and there is formal rationality. All right, way forward to reservation is only that you have to see, you have to carry out political and social audits to see whether reservations are resulting into intended benefits or not, to see whether reservation is resulting into substantive equality or not. So you have to first go for social audit and political audit, and after that make necessary change. This is the way forward for reservation. This is the way forward for reservation, everyone. Okay? All right. Now let me explain you formal rationality and substantive rationality. What is the meaning of the term rationality? What is the meaning of the term rationality according to you? What according to you is rationality? बताइए. To be reasonable. Rationality means exercise of logic, exercise of reason. When you do something based on logic and reason, that is known as rationality. This kind of rationality, all right, this kind of rationality is known as formal rationality, where you take decisions based on logic, reason, which are impersonal. Logic and reason is impersonal. You will not take care of any values or anything. So those decisions which are taken impersonally, without taking into consideration any kind of values, purely based on logic and reason, they are known as the formally rational decisions or formal rationality. Now, what is substantive rationality? Substantive rationality is the most reasonable decision with respect to values and morality. Values and morality. This is known as substantive rationality. When you take the decision which is the most reasonable decision, taking into consideration the values that you possess, the morality or the circumstances, that is known as the substantive rationality. Circumstances. For example, let me give you an example. Like, suppose you are, all right, let's say there's a very common saying in the society that we should not argue with our seniors. We should not argue with our parents. We should not argue with our elderlies. And the reason is because the elderlies, they are the storehouse of knowledge and wisdom. We should not argue them, right? So now you are witnessing a domestic violence from your father towards your mother. I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario, and do not take it to your heart. I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario. You are witnessing domestic violence. You are witnessing domestic violence in your family, where your father is inflicting maybe some kind of violence, which may be emotional, which may be even physical, upon your mother. Now in this scenario, if you go by formalistic rationality, you will not question your father, because formal rationality says that the father is always senior and you should not question them, right? Now ye rule follow kar liya aapne. This is rule. This is what you are doing by rule. That is formal rationality. But then your values as a human being, you see that your father's violence is not justified towards your mother, because your mother is from a weaker gender compared to your father, who is exercising the dominant authority in the family. So now you question your father. This kind of rationality, it's reasonable because of the morality that is ingrained here. It is because of the circumstances that is ingrained here. This kind of rationality is known as substantive rationality. So substantive rationality is circumstantial rationality, the most reasonable action pertaining to the values, morality, circumstances. And when you ignore values, morality, circumstances and go by written rules and regulations which have been crafted just using your logic and reason, irrespective of circumstances, that is known as formalistic rationality. Is it clear? I hope it is clear, right? Now आपने देखा होगा आपके एथिक्स में, I go for teaching one topic to you, and that is known as bureaucracy. Max Weber has taught us the concept of bureaucracy. So Max Weber says that the bureaucracy or the administration is a rule-bound organization where every decision has to be taken by formal manner, following the formal rules and regulations, irrespective of your values and your belief system. All right, iron cage of rationality bolta hai bureaucracy ko Max Weber. So Max Weber says that the bureaucracy, the civil services, all right, Max Weber says the bureaucracy, the civil services, is where you have to be impersonal and obey every rule and regulation that is rational in its orientation. My dear friends, that is formal rationality is talking about. But then if you just follow the formal rationality, then you will not be able to provide the substantive benefit to the people on the basis of what is morally right, what is value based right, and what is circumstantially right. So in civil services, we are right now focusing upon formal rationality, rather we should focus upon substantive rationality. Is this clear? The concept of formal rationality and substantive rationality with respect to civil services clear to everyone, right? Okay, good. So with this, we have come to the conclusion of the first topic, which was in-depth understanding various aspects. And now we can then move to the next topic. And the next topic we are going to do is from science and tech. So example of formal rationality in civil services. Any case related to it? बहुत बढ़िया, बताता हूं. Formal rationality in civil services is that without, you have to obey the command of the political boss. ठीक है? आपके पॉलिटिकल बॉस हैं, उन्होंने बोला ये एनकाउंटर कर दो, आप गए एनकाउंटर कर दिया. Getting my point? That is formalistic rationality. You are following everything in letter. But what is the spirit behind? You are ignoring it. But when you take into consideration not just the rules, but the spirit behind the rules, that is known as substantive rationality. So if you are asked to do an act of corruption, your formalistic rationality will say, acha boss ne bola to kar do. Substantive rationality says, think from your own conscience whether this act is justifiable or not. If your conscience is not there with you that this act is justified, don't do it. That is substantive rationality. I hope it's clear, right? All right. Okay. I give this example a lot of time. नहीं Ashwini, we will not go into this detail that what is the history behind reservation in India. This will be discussed more towards your other session, other static portion. यहाँ नहीं करेंगे इसको cover. I give this example many times in ethics class to distinguish between substantive rationality and formalistic rationality. Let me tell you one thing. All right, इससे पूरी life कभी ये example नहीं भूलोगे. You will never forget this example throughout your life. When what is difference between substantive rationality and formalistic rationality? Try to appreciate it. So you are an IAS officer. All right, and suppose you are allocating relief packages to 3 people. All right, so now there is a queue standing in front of you which has 4 people. The first is a male of 30 years, the second is a female of 35 years, the third is a male of 28 years, and the fourth is a female of 70 years. You just have 3 packages left for you. You just have 3 packages left for you to be given to the people. The fourth one is an old lady, 70 years old, and the first person is 35 male, second is 30 female, and third is 28 male. Yani the 3 relief packages will go to the people who are there in their early 30s. All right. Now the thing is, if you go by formalistic rationality, the formalistic rationality कहता है that if a person is coming to you to take the benefit, you have to give that benefit irrespective of any other consideration. So formalistic rationality says, I'll take 1 packet and give it to the 35-year-old male and ask him to leave. Then I'll give the second packet to a 30-year-old female and ask her to leave. And the third packet I'll give to 28-year-old male and ask him to leave. And as soon as the fourth person, that is a 70-year-old destitute woman, old woman, she comes to me and she says, I also need relief. And I say, oh, there is no relief. I cannot do anything. God save you. ये formalistic rationality है. Do you think that this is the right way a civil servant should behave? Do you think this is the right way a civil servant should behave? The answer is no. So should he stand up and go and give the first packet to the 70-year-old female? बताइए. Yeah. So now you all are saying yes. ये गलत है. ये गलत है. The golden rule of civil services is that you are not going to break any rule. This is the golden rule. You will not break any rule. Now तो according to you sir, फिर तो वो ये वाला काम ठीक है कि पहले 3 को देके चौथा जो भी आए उसको बोलो कि खत्म है काम. Then you will say this is the justified. Now here you have to play with substantive rationality. You cannot break the rule, but in case of social benefit you can bend the rule to ensure larger public good. अब bend the rule कैसे है? There is nowhere it is written in that rule book that you cannot convince the first 3 people to give their piece of benefit to the other person. Now you stand up and you नहीं 3 packet 4 में divide ही नहीं होगा. It doesn't matter. You make those 3 people think about कि if any one of them can sacrifice a share of his or her relief parcel to that old lady, you will convince them. Once they get convinced, you will take it in return from them. Okay, I am ready to give it to that lady. You take it in return. You are saving yourself from any kind of allegation in future कि इसने मेरा पैकेट उठा के उसको दे दिया. And then you are helping that lady. This is known as substantive rationality, where you are making use of rationalities in circumstantial manner, taking into consideration your values, immorality, and other relevant circumstances. All right. If they are not convinced, तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता. फिर कुछ नहीं हो सकता. You can, at best, you can give something out of your own pocket to that lady. Otherwise, you cannot go for giving that relief package. कुछ नहीं हो सकता फिर. ठीक है. तो आपने substantive rationality के साथ काम करना है rather than formal rationality. So I hope that it's clear to all of you now, right? Okay. Okay, so let's now go to the next topic, and the next topic is related to a very interesting topic. देखो, है ना, इंसान का the human being is facing a lot of problem these days because of COVID-19, and recently there is a discovery of this NeoCov. All right, NeoCov, which is again a virus which is there in bats, which is not transferred to the humans right now, but it is just one mutation away, as the Chinese scientists have said. that it can jump to the human beings and it has a very high mortality rate. All right, take into consideration all of these. Yes, there are a lot of health issues which are looming heavily upon the human beings because of the science and technological developments. And one such thing we are going to discuss is known as the antimicrobial resistance. A research has been published on antimicrobial resistance in the Lancet Journal of Medical Sciences, which is a very reputed journal. So we have to understand what is antimicrobial resistance, how antimicrobial resistance is caused, what are the important findings of this research, and we are also going to look into what are the initiatives that are there that will help the countries fight antimicrobial resistance, which is a potential mains question. All right, so this is what we are going to begin. देखो Deepak, your question is now including EWS reservation as well. Now, EWS is a reservation in which all other people who do not belong to any of these communities, neither OBC nor SCs nor STs, if any of the other people who are otherwise economically disadvantaged, for that government has provided 10% reservation under economically weaker section. Now again, yes, somewhere it is going against the spirit of meritocracy. It is going against the spirit of meritocracy that the Supreme Court held in Keshavananda Bharti case, and it is yet to come out with a concrete judgment. So we cannot comment anything as of now. All right. Okay. Chaliye. So now we are going to discuss global research on antimicrobial resistance. All right. Graham research, which was published in the Lancet journal. This is what we are discussing. All right. Here we are going to learn about the concept of antimicrobial resistance. देखिए, you know that if you look at microorganisms, all right, there are microorganisms. These microorganisms are in the form of fungi, they are in the form of bacteria, they are in the form of protozoa, etc., etc. All right, those microorganisms, वो सूक्ष्म जीवाणु which develop or which cause disease. Now, how you go for treating these diseases caused by these microorganisms such as fungi, bacteria, and protozoans? How you cure this disease? You cure this disease using antibiotics. Antibiotics. And it is now recently seen that it is happening that these microorganisms, they are developing resistance. They are developing resistance to antibiotics. These organisms that develop resistance to antibiotics, they are known as antimicrobial resistant pathogens. They are known as antimicrobial resistant pathogens, or another name for them is superbugs. They are referred to as antimicrobial resistant pathogens or superbugs. Those disease causing organisms, those disease causing organisms that have the potential of causing a very severe disease which cannot be treated by routine antibiotics, such kind of pathogens, microorganisms, is known as antimicrobial resistant organisms. Now it is seen that these superbugs or these antimicrobial resistant pathogens, they are causing worldwide 3,500 people to die every day. So it is pointed out that every day 3,500 people are dying because of because of antimicrobial resistant bacteria, fungi, or other microorganisms. So this is a very, very significant problem, and the global research on antimicrobial resistance has, or rather I should say the World Health Organization has said that the antimicrobial resistance is one of the top 10 global health threats that the humanity is facing because of its silent killing. 3,500 people dying every day. 3,500 people dying every day because of these infection by the antimicrobial resistant bacteria, pathogens, or the superbugs. The World Health Organization has called it, as one of the top 10. It is the among the top 10 public health threat. Public health threat facing humanity. It is among one of the top 10 global public health threat which the humanity is facing. This is the sheer instance that even World Health Organization has declared it as a very, very big threat that the human beings are facing right now. Now, before we go ahead, the question is how antimicrobial resistance developed. How antimicrobial resistance developed. So what is happening? So think about a scenario that there are multiple germs present. All right, there are multiple germs present, and one of the germs that is black in shape, this is antimicrobial resistant, and this is non, जो remaining है, they are non antimicrobial resistant. ठीक है? Now when you take antibiotics, it result into killing of the other organisms, and the only antimicrobial resistant germ is left. It will replicate and make its own copies such that the pathogen that will be left will no longer be non-antimicrobial, but their concentration of the antimicrobial resistance will develop. All right. They may even transfer this ability to other organisms also. So this is one of the method of developing of antimicrobial resistance, that when you go for, all right, through genetic mutation, majority of them are non-antimicrobial resistant organism, only one is antimicrobial resistant organism. Now you take antibiotic, this antibiotic kills all other, just leave this one because it is resistant to this antibiotic. ये बच गया. It is going to make its own copies, and such that majority of the dominant copies will be antimicrobial resistant, which was not the case in the first instance. ये natural process है. This is natural, that they can through evolution develop some kind of immunity to the antibiotics. Second is anthropogenic. All right. Second is anthropogenic. इंसान द्वारा करा हुआ काम. Harleen, the bacteria, they do not go for sexual reproduction. They go for making their own copies. All right. Asexual reproduction होता है. तो क्या होता है ये? हाँ. Yeah, it is asexual reproduction. So it go for making its own copies. Now anthropogenic देखिए. हाँ, माइटोसिस है ना, माइटोसिस, यस. ओके, फिशन, हाँ, सेल्यूलर फिशन, यस. अब एंथ्रोपोजेनिक देखिए, एंथ्रोपोजेनिक में क्या होता है? द बिगेस्ट रीजन ऑफ antimicrobial resistance because of the human beings is the misuse or abuse of antibiotics. आपकी बॉडी में, think about a scenario that you are infected because of some bacteria. You are infected because of some bacteria, and this bacteria needs 10 milligram of antibiotics. You took one tablet, let's say it had 2 milligram, and your symptoms improved. Your symptoms improved. Okay. You took one more tablet, and your symptoms become even better, such that you are almost back to normal, and you stop it here. You require 10 milligram of antibiotics, and you just took 4 milligram, and your symptoms got resolved. You thought that you are now fit and fine. But my dear friends, you have just given 4 milligram of antibiotic. Now this pathogen which is still there in your body, it will recognize that I have to develop some kind of immunity against this antibiotic, and the remaining bacteria or the pathogen, it is going to develop immunity through evolution. Immunity through evolution. एक तो हो गया ये चीज. All right, जब आप रिक्वायर्ड अमाउंट ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक से कम लेते हो, तो आपकी बॉडी में कंसंट्रेशन एंटीबायोटिक का कम होता है, जिससे जो पैथोजन है, इट माइट डेवलप अ एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस. इज दिस पॉइंट क्लियर टू एवरीवन? राइट. Another anthropogenic method through which antibiotic resistance is developing. You are supposed to take 10 milligrams. You are supposed to take 10 milligrams. At one go, your body goes for consuming only 2 milligram of the antibiotic. You took a tablet of, let's say, 4 milligram per day instead of 2 milligram. So your body absorbed 2 milligram, and the remaining 2 milligram will be going into your waste. It will be eliminated out of the body. Are you getting my point? You were supposed to take 2 milligram tablets for 5 days for 10 milligram to kill the infection that is inside you. Instead of 2 milligram, you are taking 4 milligram tablet. Your body can absorb only 2 milligram tablet. So where will the remaining 4 go? It will go out of your body in the feces or the urine. Right. Now this 2 milligram in your feces and in your urine is in a very diluted form. It's in a very diluted form. And my dear friends, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's a natural phenomena, right? So this diluted antibiotic, when it will be there in the sewage, jahan pe ye bacteria present hoga. Now this antibiotic is not in a concentration that it can kill. Now this antibiotic is not in a concentration that it can kill the bug. So that bug will be like, oh, okay, so this is the threat that I have. So why don't I evolve myself to this threat? And that bug will undergo mutations and evolution, and they will eventually develop some kind of resistance to this antibiotic, such that next time that bug is infecting you, you put in 2 milligram and will be just sitting relaxed, keep attention in here. Are you getting my point? And antimicrobial resistance will further develop. So your underconsumption of antibiotics, your overconsumption of antibiotics, both of them are helping the pathogens developing antimicrobial resistance. I hope it is clear now. All right. So antimicrobial resistance is not necessarily, all right, it is not necessarily a phenomena that is natural. It can even be anthropogenic, right? Okay. Now, so this research has published that antimicrobial resistance is killing approximately 3,500 people in a day. And they have predicted this based on their study of 470 million individual hospital records. इन्होंने 47 करोड़ hospital records, 47 crore hospital records have been investigated by this research, global research on antimicrobial resistance. The group that has published the GRM report, Global Resistance on Antimicrobial Resistance, they studied 47 crore hospital records around the world, and they have predicted that every day on a single day, there are around 3,500 people are dying. And this death from the antimicrobial resistance is, my dear friends, all right. So this antimicrobial resistance is one of the biggest threat that the humanity is facing right now, which is very, very big, such that it has been placed in the top 10 threats being faced by human body. Now, Harleen, try to understand it this way. So suppose a person is infected, all right, or there is a colony of colony of bacteria. So we are taking case of 5 bacteria. Out of these 5 bacteria, the one bacteria through natural process developed evolution. Through natural evolution developed resistance to the antibiotic, right? So there are 5 bacteria. One naturally through mutation and evolution developed the resistance. Rest 4 are not resistant to the antibiotic. Now you consume the antibiotic, the non-resistant will die, but the resistant will survive. Over the period of time, it is going to replicate and it is going to create its own dominant species, and the non-antimicrobial species will eliminate. दिस इज अ नेचुरल प्रोसेस, है ना भैया, इवोल्यूशन है ये इवोल्यूशन है. कुछ लोग कोविड से मर गए, कुछ नहीं मरे. जो मर गए उनका कोई asymptomatic without any illness, people have died of COVID. But some people who were suffering from many diseases, they survived. What is the explanation behind this? होगा कोई, but right now what we can say is that some are naturally destined to survive that disease and evolve, right? Okay, all right. So अब होगा क्या, over the period of time this species will be completely replaced by this species. And you see that whenever you are infected, all right, whenever you are infected, when you are giving your blood test and everything, the report comes and over there the name of the bacteria and multiple antibiotics is written, and in front of that antibiotics it is written it is resistant, it is sensitive, not sensitive, not sensitive, sensitive. Are you getting my point? So that list is very, very important for you people. अपने क्या होता है, गले में खराश है, हाँ जी चलो एजिथ्रोमाइसिन खा लेंगे 4 दिन, खत्म बात. अरे भैया एजिथ्रोमाइसिन ऐसे थोड़ी खा लोगे. You have to first get yourself treated from the doctor to see what bacteria is causing that itching. Is it bacterial or is it viral? You have to look into multiple factors, है ना. अपने तो कॉमन सी बात है, सर्दी खांसी हुई, अमोक्सिसिलिन उठा लाए. Getting my point? अगर कहीं पे like if you have a sensation, burning sensation in urine, you just take up the Ceftum कि खा लें, broad spectrum antibiotic है, आप तो खा लोगे, वहां पे क्योर हो गए. लेकिन उससे अगर कोई एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंट बग डेवलप हो गया और अगली बार इन्फेक्ट कर गया ना, तो खाते रहना Ceftum, राइट? नहीं, डोलो इज नॉट एंटीबायोटिक. डोलो इज योर नेक्स्ट स्वीट, ऑलराइट. डोलो इज नॉट एंटीबायोटिक, इट इज एनाल्जेसिक. एंटीपायरेटिक है ये, ठीक है. इट्स नॉट एंटीबायोटिक. मैं सिर्फ एंटीबायोटिक की बात कर रहा हूं. डोलो इज नॉट एंटीबायोटिक. चलिए, ऑलराइट. So let us look into some of the statistics that is going to help you. Yeah, it's mostly because of the carelessness that is there among the people with respect to antibiotics. So it's more of an antibiotic abuse rather than antibiotic use. Chaliye, other important statistics that you can help that you can take help in your examination to get more marks. You can say that according to the global research on antimicrobial resistance, it has been pointed out that around 1.27 million people have died in 2019 from AMR. 1.27 million people died from antimicrobial resistant infection in the year 2019, and this statistics 1.27 million is more than the people dying from malaria and HIV. HIV, AIDS और मलेरिया से जितने लोग मरते हैं, they are less in number than the people who are dying because of antimicrobial resistance. Yet people fear HIV and malaria more than the antimicrobial resistance, my dear friends. All right, this research has published that the biggest antimicrobial resistance related death in terms of numbers is taking place in South Asia, where approximately 13.9 lakh people have died in the South Asia, because of antimicrobial resistance. It has also been pointed out that if you look at the sub-Saharan Africa, where the standard of living is very poor, around 10 lakh people have died because of antimicrobial resistance. It has been pointed out that Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, it has pointed out that if people in hospital are COVID-19 positive and at the same time they are infected by an antimicrobial resistant pathogen, then the mortality rate goes as high as 50 to 60%. Antimicrobial resistant infection along with COVID-19, the mortality rate becomes 50 to 60%. All right, हर दो में से एक इंसान जिसको antimicrobial resistance develop होती है, antimicrobial resistant infection होता है hospital में because of COVID-19, sorry, along with COVID-19, he is doomed to die. All right, and it has also been pointed out by in this particular research that World Health Organization has declared antimicrobial resistance among the top 10 threats being faced by the humanity. All right, top 10 there's threats being faced by humanity. Is this point clear? I was reading somewhere it was written that due to complex surgeries like organ transplant also. देखिए Harleen, okay, yes, that's also one of the factors. See, when you go for some complex surgeries such as organ transplant, all right, when you go for some complex surgeries like organ transplant, your immune system is suppressed so that your immune system do not go for rejecting that organ. ठीक है, आपकी बॉडी का इम्यून सिस्टम किसी भी बाहर से आने वाली चीज को किल करता है. Your organ that you are taking as a transplant from somewhere else, that is also an external organ. So your body might go for rejecting it, and when your body rejects it, your organ will fail and you can die. So you are given medicines to suppress your immune system. Now you have a weak immune system. There is a bacteria coming which your immune system could have killed otherwise, but now your immune system is suppressed. अब bacteria आता है और बोलता है अच्छा ये है immune system जो मुझे मारता था. Okay, this is the immune system that used to kill me, but now this is weak. So why don't I do one thing? Let's go for reverse engineering. Let us develop all those things that cannot harm us, even if this immune system was strong, right? Like for example, think about this scenario. You cannot look directly into the sun during a solar eclipse. Your eyes can damage. So what do? You reduce the intensity by using some kind of optical filter. That optical filter is reducing the damaging impact of the eclipse. फिर आप देखते हो अच्छा eclipse ये होता है. Are you getting my point? So now same is happening with the bacteria. Your immune system, which otherwise would have killed it, now your immune system is suppressed, and so the bacteria is now analyzing your immune system and trying to devise ways to overcome it. Now suppose you took medicine, all right, but by that time it infected some other person. Now his immune system will also not be of any good use because the bacteria has already developed resistance to your immune system. Okay, so even that is a way of development of superbugs. अब ये now think about this scenario. Why is it? रुको एक सेकंड होल्ड करो, पहले पूरा पॉइंट समझा करो. Why is it that the people like World Health Organization is saying vaccinate everybody? Vaccinate everybody because we do not know which person's immune system is weak. COVID infection occurs and COVID is killed out of your body in 10 days. But if a person is having weak immune system, virus will be in his immune system for not 10 days but for 30 days. और 30 दिन में virus will be able to adapt itself to the immune system of the human beings. It will make 46 mutations and it will come out as a Omicron variant. Are you getting my point? This is the theory behind emergence of Omicron variant, that this COVID-19 Delta variant was in a person who was immunocompromised because of HIV AIDS. In that body, this Omicron virus was there for a very prolonged period of time, such that it made not just 1, 2, or 3, but 46 mutations, and it became highly transmissible. It came out of the human body and spread like a wildfire. Is it clear? राइट? ओके, आईसीएमआर वाला पॉइंट ये है, देखो आईसीएमआर वाला पॉइंट इट्स वेरी सिंपल दैट आईसीएमआर इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ मेडिकल रिसर्च ने एक चीज बताई है, अगर कोई कोविड-19 पॉजिटिव पेशेंट है, उसके साथ में अगर वो किसी तरीके से एंटी माइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंस इन्फेक्शन कैच कर लेता है, तो इन दोनों के मिक्सचर से उसकी जो डेथ होने की चांसेस है वो 50 to 60% हो जाती है। अभी कोविड-19 की मोर्टेलिटी रेट इज 2%, है ना, 2% से भी कम है, सही बताऊं तो 1-1.5% इससे ज्यादा नहीं है। 100 में से एक इंसान मरता है कोविड-19 में आज की डेट में। ऑलराइट, नाउ कोविड-19 अलोंग विद एंटीमाइक्रोबियल रेजिस्टेंट इन्फेक्शन, ये दोनों मिला के mortality rate increases to 50 to 60%. So it shows that AMR along with COVID-19 is a very deadly combination according to ICMR studies. अब करते हैं बात efforts to fight antimicrobial resistance. All right, efforts against, अभी ये मेंस का टॉपिक स्टार्ट होता है यहाँ पे, efforts against antimicrobial resistance. All right, efforts against antimicrobial resistance. सबसे पहला एफर्ट है which is known as the Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance, GAP-AMR. GAP is Global Action Plan. Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance. This Global Action Plan, it was set up in 2015 on the backdrops of the World Health Assembly. The World Health Assembly, it organized itself in the year 2015, and in that particular assembly, Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance was adopted. The purpose of this Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance is helping individual nations. It helps individual nations to fight the antimicrobial resistance. ये ग्लोबल एक्शन प्लान बाकी सब देशों को अपना अपना नेशनल एक्शन प्लान बनाता है. सो हेल्प इंडिविजुअल नेशंस टू डेवलप इट्स national action plans to fight the antimicrobial resistance. This is the first effort against the antimicrobial resistance, that in the backdrop of the World Health Assembly 2015, Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance was adopted, and this global action plan is to act as a agency to help individual nations develop their own national action plans to fight the antimicrobial resistance. The second effort that we can say is that 3 organizations, World Health Organization, Food and Agriculture Organization, and the World Animal Organization or World Organization for Animal. This is World Health Org. Second is Food and Agriculture Org, and third is World Organization for Animals. These 3 agencies have created a common secretariat. They have created a common secretariat. This common secretariat against antimicrobial resistance. So that is 3 global agencies: World Health Organization, Food and Agriculture Organization, and World Organization for Animals. Ab dekho, from here a very potential prelims question can come. The acronym OIE stands for which of the following organizations? The acronym OIE stands for which of the following organizations? And you will never be able to guess until unless you know that OIE is the acronym for World Organization for Animals. It was some old name All right, and this World Organization for Animals is a new name, but they continued with the old acronym and use the new name. So it's a prelims question. Here UPSC is going to trick you. आप ढूंढोगे OIE, Organization for Indian Electronics, पता नहीं क्या, you can go for any kind of combination and then you will take it. अच्छा OIE में तो OIE होना जरूरी है. No, OIE is the acronym for World Organization for Animals. Is it clear? All right. Next, third effort against antimicrobial resistance. In the year 2016, the United Nations held a high-level meeting. It held a high-level meeting on antimicrobial resistance. All right. This high-level meeting of United Nations on antimicrobial resistance led to interagency group. It led to interagency group, IAG, interagency group on antimicrobial resistance, and this interagency group is led by the Secretary General of the United Nations. All right, the Secretary General of United Nations lead the interagency group on antimicrobial resistance, helping devise ways to tackle the antimicrobial resistance. Next, from 2020, we have started WOW. WOW stands for World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. All right, so we have started from 2020 onwards, WOW, World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, to create awareness. To create awareness against antimicrobial resistance, so that people do not go for abusing or misusing what is known as antibiotics. All right, so it is started to raise awareness. Then in 2015, the World Health Organization led to the establishment of GLASS. GLASS stands for Global Antimicrobial Resistance Use Surveillance System. Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System. All right, so this GLASS or Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System started by World Health Organization. Yes, nahi, dekho, see, for the first time, Harleen, if you are using the word GLASS, no, first time write Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System. In bracket, in your answers, you can write GLASS, and next time you want to write this, just use the word GLASS. Whenever you are writing answers, and in answers you want to use the short form, first you have to define the short form. So पहले बार बड़ा लिख के उसके ब्रैकेट में शॉर्ट फॉर्म लिख के अगली बार आप आंसर में फिर शॉर्ट फॉर्म यूज कर सकते हो. Clear? All right. So this GLASS, Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System, is an effort of the World Health Organization to fill in knowledge gaps. To fill in knowledge gaps and develop global strategies. To counter the antimicrobial resistance. This GLASS is a system where people can put in their knowledge about antimicrobial resistance at one place, so that all the information can be used to develop a global strategy to fight antimicrobial resistance, and it has been started by none other than the World Health Organization. So these are the efforts against antimicrobial resistance at global level. At global level. अब बात करते हैं इंडिया. WOW was started by the global consortium against antimicrobial resistance that consists of multiple, all right, that consists of multiple agencies. एक agency ने नहीं start किया. Now let's look into India specific efforts. India specific efforts. In India, one of the very common thing that we have observed is that when we go to a chemist to purchase an antibiotics, that antibiotics has a red line behind it. The red line behind antibiotics is there to discourage the sale of that antibiotics over the counter. All right. So in India, the first step that you can mention is that we have started with what is known as India's Red Line campaign. India's Red Line campaign. India's Red Line campaign has been started where India, or in India, the prescription antibiotics, they are provided with a red line on its packet such that they cannot be purchased over the counter. They can't be purchased over the counter. They cannot be purchased over the counter. All right. Red line, जो जिस दवाई के पत्ते पे रेड लाइन है वो आप बिना प्रिस्क्रिप्शन दिखाए नहीं खरीद सकते. All right. So this is a step that the government of India introduced to prevent the abuse and misuse of antimicrobial resistance. Next, the government of India has included antimicrobial resistance in India's National Health Policy 2017. In India's National Health Policy 2017, antimicrobial resistance has been given the priority status. All right. Priority status has been given to the treatment of, to the curing or finding potential solution to antimicrobial resistance. Then apart from this, in the year 2017, the government of India started the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance. All right, India has already enacted or adopted the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance, which India developed with the help of Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance. So the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance was adopted in the year 2017. All right, and it has resulted into this National Action Plan. It converged efforts against antimicrobial resistance from various sectors. What sectors are included? बहुत important है, ध्यान देना. Health care, education, food processing, livestock, all right, and fisheries. In all those areas where there is a use of antibiotics, the National Action Plan is trying to converge all the efforts so that we do not go for developing antimicrobial resistance. You are educating people, not just people, you are educating farmers, you are educating people involved in Blue Revolution, you are educating everyone, even the pharmacist, that they should not go for abusing or misusing antibiotics. Livestock are provided antibiotics, उनके अंदर भी properly administer होना चाहिए, ध्यान रखना चाहिए. फिशेस के जो पॉन्ड्स होते हैं वहां पे एंटीबायोटिक्स डाला जाता है टू प्रिवेंट द फिश डेथ. दैट हैज टू बी रेगुलेटेड एंड properly washed. In food processing industries, we are using antibiotics as well as in healthcare. Everywhere there is a use of antibiotics, the National Action Plan is trying to create a coordinated approach to fight antimicrobial resistance. And lastly, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, it has regulated the use of antibiotic products in fish and honey. All right. FSSAI, Food Safety and Security Authority of India, FSSAI, which deals with food safety and standards, it has regulated the use of antibiotic products in the fish and honey sector so that it may not be misused or abused in that sector and antimicrobial resistance may not develop. Is this point clear, everyone? This is mains oriented. So you may be asked a question, what are the efforts at global and Indian level to fight antimicrobial resistance? So you have to write about the global specific efforts and India specific efforts. You may be asked, what is antimicrobial resistance and what steps have been taken to fight it? So in that, first explain what is antimicrobial resistance and then explain all the efforts, both global as well as Indian. You may be asked, what is antimicrobial resistance, how it develops? You can write that. You may be asked that why antimicrobial resistance is emerging as the biggest threat to humanity. Justify your answer in the light of the recent research on antimicrobial resistance published in the Lancet. Everything we have covered it here. All right. Chaliye. So with just 5 minutes remaining, will not begin with the next topic today. Next week, we'll be first taking upon a very important topic related to two of the ethnic communities in India, Chakma and Hajong, and we'll carry forward next week with the remaining topics. All right, so I'll close the session for here today. You must have got, so those people who are here with us, very new, starting your preparation right now, this is the level of depth that you have to achieve when you are preparing your current affairs. In our class, we covered 3, 2, 4 different topics depending upon the depth of a particular topic. We go for covering those topics. On the basis of these topics, your remaining days should be aligned to prepare your own notes out of the newspaper. All right, so I'll just show you the last slide. Okay, here's the last slide. Okay, everyone. Yeah, all right. Manisha, likh liya aapne? So I think that with this, we can close the session here today. I'll see you next week at 2:30 p.m. Until then, be safe, stay protected. All right. And enjoy your week, work hard, achieve your dreams. That's all from my side. Bye, everyone. Have a great week ahead. Harleen, that's a separate thing that we do not do here. Can reservations be given to a community based on their financial crisis? Generally, no. But then in India, economically weaker section has been given. Yes. Yes, it is indeed. Shubhi, what is your question? You have to ask, okay, do we need to prepare notes? Yes, Shubhi, you have to prepare notes from the newspaper just like this. Suppose you are reading the newspaper and in the newspaper, there is only one word that has been written and that one word is substantive equality. Now it is your responsibility that you dig up the internet to some level to understand what substantive rationality is or what substantive equality is. You are reading the newspaper and then there is a kind of word, let's say you are reading the article and there is that India is going for a V-shaped recovery, but you do not know what is V-shaped recovery. So you can ask your teachers here, but suppose if we are not accessible because of some reason, you are at home or it's quite late in the night, you do not want to disturb any of your faculty for that matter. So what you can do, you can always open up your Google and you can say what is a V-shaped recovery and you can read the first introductory paragraph to get an idea, okay, what V-shaped recovery is, and then move ahead. So make the flow charts like this. Why is reservations required in promotions? Reservation is required in promotions. There was a justification that was given by Supreme Court upholding reservation in promotions. I'll have to look forward to it. All right, I cannot give anything out of my own viewpoint. I'll be referring more to द प्रीवियस जजमेंट एंड इट्स बेसिस, तो वहां पे कवर करेंगे। ओके चलिए, सो I'll take your leave now. See you next week 2:30 p.m. Until then, bye bye, take care, stay safe and enjoy your week. Bye everyone.